All right, welcome back. This is going to be the Python for DevOps book reading. I had some issues with my lab, so I had to miss a few days. I wish I could say it was I actually took a video of myself troubleshooting it because I thought it would be interesting to share, but a lot of it was just me scratching my head. So it's like this is me just basically standing still and thinking and not saying or doing anything. So it just wasn't postable. And then not only that, the solution was really dumb. It's just somehow the GNS3 server stopped running, so I just had to type GNS3 server, enter, and bring it back up again to get my lab back up. So I thought it was going to be something interesting with like a hard disk failing or like something I could investigate in and use the commands that I learned in this book. So I actually did go back through this book and I went back to the section disk utilities and I ran some of these utilities and tried to get a sense for my machine. And one interesting command thing that I did do that I will share. So I'll open up the CLI to my home lab here. One of the things I thought might have happened was it got a new, because I still don't have a static IP assigned to it. We've kind of been lazy, but I'd like to do that. So I thought that the DNS IP got changed because I did, I think, reboot it a while ago, but that wasn't the issue at all. The issue was just this command here. But one thing I did want to share is if you do ls and you do tab, you can see a lot of interesting things here. So you can do ls CPU, see some information about your CPUs. So I've got 24 CPUs. I've got a big honking server. You can see the model name, everything like that. But one of the more interesting ones is this LSHW. And if you do LSHW, it'll say you should run it as root, but you don't have to. You'll still get information back. And this will just show you everything on your system. So this is one thing I checked. I made sure that my disks were showing up here. The disk, where is it? So you get a lot of information. Not all of it is relevant. Disk information should be on here though. I think it's after this PCI information. So here's my CD-ROM. Now this is interesting because this is my disks are SCSI disks, SCSI. This is interesting. I thought there was more. I'm not seeing the same information I saw before, and I did take the disk out that was blinking in amber. So I was expecting to see fewer disks, but I wasn't expecting to just not see any disks at all, which almost seems like is what I'm seeing here. But I do have the prior output on this saved, so I'm going to do a diff. So yep, this is where I ran it. There we go, and then we'll copy that and then open up Notepad++. Okay, so here's where I ran it last time, and I've got so we're gonna and then we'll do plugins. Oops, looks like I don't have compare installed, so we'll get that installed quick. Okay, so now I can compare it. Oh, it looks like we got a lot of differences. I didn't think there'd be this many differences. It looks like a lot of things went away. There should be some green. If I flip the compares, we should see green. So I'm going to do that. Now, can I just swap it like this? I can't. So we'll go like this, like that, and now we're swapping the compares. So this is what's on here now. If I were to revert it back to how it was before, this is what it would be. So we have. Oh, you know what? This is without Studio, so let's make sure, and then the other one is with Studio. So let's make sure we're getting comparable output. There we go. Okay, this should be a lot more comparable. I think the output is quite a bit different if you don't have admin privileges. Yeah, now we get more information. So, yep. But we'll still do the compare with, this is what it is now. Obviously, you just saw me do that. And then this is what it is before. We'll compare it with, as if this is what we want to go to and not what we were going from. So we're basically going to say, this is how things are, but what would happen if I reverted it back to the way things were? So we can see, here's something that would happen. We would, okay, so it looks like an Ethernet interface tap went down. That's interesting. I did take a disk out. So I guess what I was expecting to see and why I'm surprised here is I was expecting to see a disk missing or added here, but I don't see that. Just for extra curiosity's sake, I'm gonna swap these again, just to see how it looks different. Yeah, so really I don't see anything referring to an actual SDA. Yeah, so okay, here's the disk information. But as you can see, we've got SDA 1, 2, and 3. Oh, I see. Okay, so yeah, this is only one disk. This is my 837 disk. So these are partitions, I believe. We've got a partition for 500. Oh. Okay, well, they must not be partitions because this is bigger than the size of the disk, which a partition cannot be. So yeah, okay, I guess I'm pretty confused here. The important thing is just that I got it up and running. So this video is going to be about this book, so let's try to get through as much as possible. Probably going to need to end this video pretty soon. Alright, creating configuration values for the staging stack. The current stack is staging. Rename the existing www directory to www-staging. Then use the pulumi config set command to specify two configuration values for the current staging stack, domain name and local web dir. tip for more details on how Pulumi manages configuration values and secrets, see the Pulumi reference documentation. Okay, so we've got some more commands we can use using Pulumi. I wasn't able to get Pulumi to work last time, so let's just keep on going. To inspect the existing configuration values for the current stack, run Pulumi config. Once the configuration values are set, use them in the Pulumi code. Now that the configuration values are in place, next we will provision an SSL certificate with the AWS Certificate Manager service. Provisioning an ACM SSL certificate. Around this point, Pulumi starts to show its rough edges when it comes to its Python SDK. Just reading the Pulumi Python SDK reference for the ACM module is not sufficient to make sense of what you need to do in your Pulumi program. Fortunately, there are many Pulumi examples in TypeScript that you can take inspiration from. One such example that illustrated our use case is AWS TS static website. Here is the TypeScript code for creating a new ACM certificate from index.ts. Alright. A rule of thumb in porting Pulumi code from TypeScript to Python is that parameter names that are camel-cased in TypeScript become snake-cased in Python. As you can see in the earlier example, domain name becomes domain underscore name, which is known as snake casing, and validation name, which is known as camel casing, becomes snake casing, validation underscore method, all in lowercase. Our next step was to provision a Route 53 zone, and in that zone provision a DNS validation record for the ACM SSL certificate. Provisioning a Route 53 zone and DNS records. Provisioning a new Route 53 zone with Pulumi is easy if you follow the Pulumi SDK reference for Route 53. The preceding snippet shows how to use a regular Python function to split the configuration value read into the domain underscore name variable into two parts. If domain underscore name is staging.devopsforall.dev, the function will split it into subdomain staging and parent domain devopsforall.dev. The parent underscore domain Python case variable is then used as a parameter to the constructor of the zone object, which tells Pulumi to provision a Route 53.zone resource. Note, once the Route 53 zone was created, we had to point the cheap name servers at the name service specified in the DNS record for the new zone so that the zone can be publicly accessible. All was well and good so far. The next step was to create both the ACM certificate and a DNS record to validate the certificate. We first tried to port the example TypeScript code by applying the rule of thumb of turning camel case parameter names into snake case. Alright. The first attempt at porting to Python by switching camel case to snake case. No luck. .pulumi shows this error. At this point, we were stumped because the Python SDK documentation doesn't include this level of detail. We did not know what attributes we needed to specify for the domain validation options object. We were only able to get past this by adding the domain underscore validation underscore options object to the list of Pulumi exports, which are printed out by Pulumi at the end of the Pulumi up operation. Export domain validation options, domain validation options. The output from Pulumi was domain validation options. Yeah, so here's the output from Pulumi. Bingo, it turns out that the attributes of the domain validation options object are still camel cased. Here's the second attempt at porting to Python, which was successful. Next, specify a new type of resource to be provisioned, a certificate validation completion resource. This causes Pulumi up operation to wait until ACM validates the certificate by checking the Route 53 validation record created earlier. And I want to see if there's something I want to highlight here. Yeah, I'm going to highlight this because it looks like they got past something. So if I remember working with Pulumi, I want to know how they got past this. So I'm going to highlight that. Alright. At this point, you have a fully automated way of provisioning an ACM SSL certificate and of validating it via DNS. The next step is to provision the CloudFront distribution in front of the S3 bucket hosting the static files for the site. Okay, I'm going to pause the recording. I'll be back shortly. Okay, I'm back. I can go for a bit longer, but it is going to be a shorter video today. So it looks like there's a lot of coding examples. Let's just get to the next section. So this is provisioning a CloudFront distribution. Use the SDK reference for the Pulumi CloudFront module to figure out which constructor parameters to pass to CloudFront.distribution. Inspect the TypeScript code to know what proper values are for those parameters. Here's the final result. So this is just all code output that I can't get to work. Run Pulumi up to provision the CloudFront distribution. Okay, so we're almost at the end. You know what, I think I'm going to end it here. Oops. Well, let me get to the next section. Provisioning a Route 53 DNS record for the site URL. The last step in the end-to-end provisioning of the resources for the staging stack was the relatively simple task of specifying a DNS record of type A as an alias to the domain of the CloudFront endpoint. Site DNS record, okay. Run Pulumi up as usual. Visit staging.devopsforall.dev and see the files uploaded to S3. Go to the logging bucket in the AWS console and make sure the CloudFront logs are there. Let's see how to deploy the same Pulumi project to a new environment represented by a new Pulumi stack. Alright, you know what, that's going to be it for this video. I just can't go any longer. So I'll see you in the next one, and in the next one hopefully I can finish chapter 10.